Hi, everyone, and welcome. We are honoring our veterans today. Specifically, we have HEINZ here. He's one of our amazing PAD warriors. For those who may not be familiar with PAD, peripheral artery disease is poor circulation in the legs. It's a disease that's more prevalent and deadlier than prostate cancer, colon cancer, and breast cancer combined. And yet, 70% of Americans who are polled don't even know it exists. It's really sad. So many doctors brush off the typical symptoms of leg pain, leg cramps, neuropathy as diabetes, diabetic neuropathy, old age. We even had someone that we interviewed earlier today, Chris Trigstad with Biomedics, which makes a testing device for PAD called PADNet. He was saying that he was talking to a gentleman who said, "Oh, no, I don't have any sort of leg pain. I solved the problem." HEINZ, you're going to love this. "I solved the problem. I experienced leg cramps, and so I just stopped walking." No, you don't want to do that. It's a sign of a bigger problem. It's a sign of PAD. And 3 in 5 people who suffer a heart attack have PAD, but life and limb could be saved if you get diagnosed early, you get on the right medications, you manage your lifestyle, eat better, walk more. Right, HEINZ? You got to walk more when you have PAD to build your own natural bypasses around those blocked or narrowed arteries. So, anyway, with all that being said, thank you so much, HEINZ, and thank you to all the veterans for your service.
You're welcome.
So I want to go back to the very beginning. So first, what branch of service did you serve in?
I was in the United States Air Force, joined in 1977.
Wow. So bring us back to joining in 1977. What was the catalyst? Was it the draft, or did you decide on your own that you were going to enter the military?
Well, my
I guess the
parents,
draft would have been earlier. So that would have
right,
been
the draft was
60s.
gone. Yeah. But my parents realized, hey, you're going to be graduating from school, high school, and that you either better get a job or join the military. You're not going to bum around here. So I graduated in 1977. I was 17 years old, and my parents signed me into the Air Force because being underage, they had to sign for me, and yeah,
Did
I
your parents even give you a choice as to which branch, or did they say Air Force?
actually, yeah, that's a good question. I spoke with Joshua earlier about this.
Our YouTube producer.
Mm, that my mom's boss, he was ex-Navy, and I had a chat with him. My mom encouraged that, and he said, "Well, I wouldn't go into the Army, and definitely don't go into the Navy." Nothing was brought up about Marines, but he said, "I recommend going in the Air Force. You'll like it." So I did.
Okay, so can we talk boot camp?
Yeah, that was in.
What was that like? See, I would have gone into my dad served in the Navy, and I was thinking that it would be great. There's so many different things. You don't have to just go into combat in joining the military. So I was thinking there's so much that I could even do in there. I'm such a weenie. I feared boot camp.
Well, back in the 70s, the training instructors in boot camp, or what we call basic training, they weren't allowed to touch us. They couldn't hit us or anything like that. But they had other ways of punishing people um, that they're not allowed to do anymore. So they were still pretty strict. You couldn't, uh, back then, ask for a timeout, which I believe they do now. And It was 6 weeks. It went by pretty fast. And it was in the dead of summer in San Antonio, Texas. So we had a lot of what they call black flags out. We weren't allowed to march, so we were always picked up in a bus. But with that, we stayed in old World War II barracks because they didn't have enough room in the newer barracks. And at night, we kept the windows open. Skunks walked by, let go of their stink bombs, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
And
wow. Lots of mosquitoes, I would imagine.
I don't remember mosquitoes as much, but it was hot. It was really hot, and we were told to drink a lot of water, and I think we also had salt. We were given salt to take also to, for some reason, maybe to drink more water.
Retain water, yeah.
And uh, yeah, 6 weeks, and then I was off to training school.
And so what did you train in? My dad always talked about the different training programs that he had the opportunity to enter into.
Well, something unique in the military. I mean, it exists on the outside, but something unique is in the military. The military moves a lot. Somebody has to coordinate all that with commercial carriers that are out there, or getting them airline tickets, or moving the cargo for the military. And what they called, I was basically a passenger and household goods specialist. And your dad probably knows if he moved any amount of times that he had to go into an office to coordinate all that, and that's what I did, creating government bills of lading and other forms, and working with commercial carriers, your global van lines or North American van lines, businesses like that. And there were hundreds of them out there.
What's
And
amazing is about the military is that's not something that you knew how to do going in, and they
no,
train you. And that's what's great about the military is that they train people into the positions and move them up and move them around for those positions.
right, right.
And so how
So I
long did
got
you do that?
assigned.
Go ahead.
Well, my schooling was 2.5 months in Wichita
Okay.
Falls, Texas, Shepherd Air Force Base. And from there, I got assigned to my first duty station, which was Kaiserslautern, Germany, Ramstein
No,
Air
you got to
Base.
live in Germany?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Well, spoke back then almost fluent German. I lost a lot of
okay.
German, so I could read and write and speak German.
Were you
So
born in Germany or were you born
no,
here? You
I
were
was
born
born
here.
in I was born in the States, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania
And your
area.
parents, were your
My
parents
parents
born in
both
Germany?
came over from Germany separately after the war, and they met in the
Interesting.
States.
So your parents probably spoke a lot of German at home, so you were probably raised with German and English.
Exactly, exactly. I still have relatives over in Germany. My grandparents and uh, yeah, my parents. When I was born, I was told I only spoke German. I had to learn English, and eventually, like 4 or 5 years old, I was talking English. Uh, but yeah, I was only talking German when I was able to talk. And this was in the States. It was, um, my sister, a little differently, she spoke English when she started talking, but for me, it was German. So yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. So I
So
got
my
stationed in Germany, and
okay.
yeah, I spent 2.5 years there, and it was fun. But I got there at 17, and naive, but I was able to talk the language. So a lot of the other military there knew that. So I made a lot of friends over there, and they kept tabs on me. And of course, they used me to translate a lot,
Of
which
course.
helped. But back then it was how much can you drink? How much can you smoke? As cigarettes. Back then it was acceptable.
Oh, it's still even acceptable. There's a
Mm,
conference called Link, which is a world-renowned conference, and it takes place over in um, Leipzig,
okay.
Germany.
Mm,
And I'll never forget this, that in the middle of the conference, this is all, vascular and cardiovascular doctors. They have this atrium in the middle of the conference, and there were cigarette machines. And the atrium was filled with dozens of doctors out there smoking. And that wasn't my only experience with that. I was visiting one of the hospitals,
Mhm.
and after one of the procedures, the doctor had a very successful case, and I wanted to interview him about the case. And he said, "Oh, no, I have to go out for a smoke. You can interview my fellow." I was thinking, here he was opening the arteries of one of his patients who smokes, and here the doctor was smoking. You would think that he would go, I don't want my arteries to look like that. But I don't know. Maybe he's thinking, well, I know they can be open, so I'm not really too concerned.
Right. Yeah. Well, while I was over there and my first tour, I developed cancer in my right leg.
Oh, no. And
And
your first tour over there? That's at
yeah,
17, 18 years old.
I was 20 when well, actually 20 when they took it out. I noticed it at 19. And yeah, they started treatment and I had surgery over there to remove
In your
the,
leg. You had
yeah,
cancer in your leg.
right. There
Did they
was,
have any idea where that came from or what caused
no,
it?
no idea. They said what I had was normally for people ages 45 and older. It was a lipid liposarcoma, which lipid is fat, but how I got it, they don't know. So I had it removed over there, and along with a leg muscle around the knee area, and they were going to do more surgery, but then the doctors thought, I think we've gone far enough. We need to send you to the States. So they sent me to a bigger military hospital in back at San Antonio, Texas. And there they said, well, we believe it was all taken out, but to ensure it's going to be okay, we're going to give you radiation treatment. And
Mm.
then I had 8 weeks of radiation treatment from my hip down to right below my knee, both sides. And back then it didn't phase me. It's just what was funny is I didn't have nothing else to do except go for radiation for almost 8 weeks. So I spent my day going swimming at the base pool or doing other things, and people would stare at me because I had red magic marker uh, outlining where the radiation system was supposed to hit on my leg. And eventually my leg
Um,
was bright red. You know, radiation does that. And it was front and back of my leg. And then I was released. And they said, well, you need to be close to a major hospital for a few years. So they kept me there at the Lackland Air Force Base where I had basic training. And I spent a few years there. And I had to go back every few months to get checked by it was an orthopedic doctor that was checking me. And
and were you still doing the travel arrangements at the time, still doing the same type
oh
of
yeah,
job?
yep, yep. That was I did that for a total of 17 years, and I
Wow.
did something else later on, but I can explain that later. But yeah, and then I got sent after almost 3 years in Texas. They sent me to Athens, Greece. So I spent a year and a half there.
Ooh, oh, fun.
Yeah, oh, party area. You know, again,
They have
young.
some spectacular PAD doctors there, just so you know. I mean, fantastic
I'll jump
doctors there.
ahead real quick. I never heard the word PAD until 2019. So I'll go
Wow. So that was
backwards
a
again.
long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I didn't even know what peripheral artery disease
So
was. But anyway,
when they transferred you from Germany to San Antonio to Greece, how did the day-to-day tasks or resources or calls that you were making differ between the different locations depending on where you were?
Well, international moving is a lot trickier. They put things in crates. And then uh, the way they do business in Greece or in Germany is a little bit differently. uh, yeah, a little bit differently than how you do a stateside move. So, yeah, you had to know the regulations, and you had to ensure
Uh,
that the carriers that were doing this complied with the regulations.
Oh,
That
wow.
and for the most part they did. That of course you had to ensure there was no thievery going on. But one side thing I did while I was in Greece, I became the senior military customs inspector for the military out there. So um, what that basically means is I was trained by the Department of Agriculture and U.S. Customs to have people do customs inspections of people's property before it ever left the foreign country. And I did that in my tour in Greece, and uh,
It's so
that's
interesting. My dad would have gotten in big trouble with you from the stories that I hear with the alcohol that he and his buddies would hide.
yeah. It wasn't so much alcohol. I mean,
You were looking for that.
we were looking for other things, drugs, of course. Government property was a big no-no also. I mean, yeah, if somebody was trying to ship back a whole liquor cabinet full of stuff, we had to tell them, nope, nope, can't do it. And basically, when you're coming back from overseas with any alcohol, they want you to hand carry it. And they gave a little leeway to the military when they hand carry versus a tourist. I think as a tourist, you're only allowed 1 liter. And as a military, they allowed you a lot more.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, not a great amount, just a lot more. So they realized that, that they were in a foreign country, and they allowed the military to bring it back. But the other side thing to the customs was the agriculture, and they didn't want dirt from foreign countries to come back to the States, or of course insects or
Yeah.
bugs, yeah, things like that. So we were on the lookout for that too. And then also we shipped cars too, and we had to make sure that the cars were clean. There was a um, big thing in Greece that something in the water. I'm not sure anymore what it was, but that they'd stick to your cars. So you had to ensure that your car was, engine included, was totally clean before it got shipped.
Mm. And is that something that when you would find it, you would call up the person and say, "Hey, it's
Yeah, they
not
were generally available. So
meeting
yeah,
standards."
it was it
And
was it was okay. They pretty much complied, because otherwise U.S. Customs would impound it in the States before it ever got off the loading dock there, or unloading dock. So
but I mean,
yeah,
we're talking about military folks, and they're more compliant, right? I mean, in terms of, they follow orders and protocols and things like that for the most part.
for the most part, yes, yes. You'd have
Do you have any
people that try to
stories? Do you have
sneak
any
it.
funny stories of things that you found? Um, Things that stand out in terms of maybe things you had to take away, or things that people tried to smuggle on in and get by with.
No, I had no personal, or my coworkers had any problems with anything like that. I mean, we heard of horror tales where they tried, like your dresser, for example, they had a hidden compartment underneath one of the drawers, so it was raised a little, and somebody tried to smuggle drugs. That's something I didn't see, but that's how we were trained to what to look for.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, but really, most people were very compliant. It was the government property that they took back. You know, some people had stuff, Vietnam vets and things like that, that, you know, they said, well, I've had this for a long time. I shipped it all over the world. Why are you complaining about it? I said, I didn't write the regulations. That's
So what types of things are you talking about?
um old old type of engines, things like that, parts for engines that were part of military vehicles, also for military ships too, because we also worked with the Navy there in Greece, so we had to worry about that. You know, it was just a lot of stuff. They tried to send back live ammo too. That's a big no-no.
Yeah, don't want that being put
Well,
in
we
some
shipped
shipping
it
containers.
before, and no, you can't do that, you know? Was it foolproof? Hard to say, but we tried
You're
our
the
best.
nicest guy, but you're not making friends.
Well, it was either us or US Customs. And again, before it ever gets packed and loaded into your container there, we made sure it complied. Do you want US Customs to unpack everything out of that container and load it back up in the container? They're not specialists on how to pack things, you know. So yeah, that's how
It's
we
better that you
treated it.
did it versus them. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Was there anything that you can't unsee in terms of things that people ship that you're like, oh my gosh, wow.
Yeah, dirty diapers, dirty stuff. I had to tell carriers to go home because the places that some of these military people lived in were not clean. I mean, I'm sorry to say it, but I'm blunt about it. Is, I mean, you saw underwear standing next to the wall there. It was, uh, yeah, you cannot see it. Yeah.
Wow, but that would never go over in the barracks. My dad, when he went out today to keynote this Veterans Day celebration, he was out there shining his shoes, and he was asking me to defuzz him and making sure there was no dog hair anywhere on his uniform. It was just spotless. So I
Wow.
just can't imagine anyone in the military that would be actually messy.
Believe it or not, it was not so much the barracks people, it was the people that lived off base with families.
Right. But,
And
they
they
lived off
were,
base, but you'd think they'd run a tight ship.
yeah, no,
Nope. Nope. So you were in Greece, and how long were you in Greece?
18 months.
Okay, and then what was the trigger to leave?
I
And
didn't
were
like it
you
there.
seeing oh, you didn't like it there? Not as much?
No, the Greeks didn't like us. It was, you had communism all over the place there. Um, so they just really didn't like Americans or the military. They liked our money, but they didn't. Don't get me wrong. There were a lot of great Greek people. I mean, really nice, friendly Greek people. But they would strike for a week or two, and you couldn't get on base. It was just some crazy stuff going on.
So you decided you wanted to, what was that like to apply to come home? Or what were those conversations like to say, hey, I want to get back to the
Well, I
States?
was
And
hoping to go back
also,
to Germany, you know,
oh,
and
okay.
unfortunately, it wasn't to be. They sent me to Cheyenne, Wyoming. Yeah,
Wow, it's a
it's
change.
was an old. It still exists. It's a missile base there in Cheyenne, Wyoming. That I was going to be doing the same stuff, except U.S. Customs. I didn't have to worry about because I was in the States. So I was going to be doing the same thing there. That was cold. Cheyenne is windy, cold. It's only about
Yep.
160 miles from where I live now, but the big difference in temperature up there in Cheyenne. I
Oh,
met some great people, but I
oh
didn't like
yeah.
it either. And
I mean, you could literally spit and it would freeze in the air.
and it was very windy. So you had one hand, I was on the enlisted side. I had one hand ready to salute an officer that might come by, and my other hand holding my hat on my head because the wind would knock the hat off. So
Oh,
yeah,
that's so funny. Oh my goodness.
yeah,
Wow. I remember
15
I was
months
in
there.
15 months.
Yeah, that's
That's a
yeah.
long time. Yeah, they have
15
a
months
very long
wasn't
winter.
that long. Not for Air Force, because that was Strategic Air Command at the time. And once you're with Strategic Air Command, it's hard to leave. But I must have been lucky because they sent me back to Germany after that.
Why is it hard to leave Strategic Carrot Command?
At the time, SAC would send you to another SAC base. So if not Cheyenne, they might send you to Montana or North Dakota or South Dakota. It was hard to, once they had you in your grips, and I had nothing to do with missiles or anything like that. It's just you're in the system as part of Strategic Air Command, and once they have you, they like to keep you. So I was happy to
So it's
leave.
easy to get in, hard to get out, but you managed
Mhm.
to, after 15 months, you went back to Germany.
Yep. I was
What
at
was
a
this?
tiny air base in northern Germany
Okay.
called Hesches-Ollendorf Air Station, which is, if you look on a map at Berlin, Germany, and Amsterdam, Holland, and you drive to each other city, right in the middle there in Germany is where I was stationed. It's close to a town called Hameln, which, if you remember your old kid books, they talked about the Pied Piper of Hameln.
Yep.
Well, that's the town right there. They had big shows about the Pied Piper on weekends in the summertime there. So I spent 5.5 years there. In
Wow.
well, in that
I was
time,
going to say, is
I
it?
met my wife, and
You
yeah,
met her there.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. And then I'm jumping ahead, but then how did you drag her back to the States after being in such a wonderful place?
Well, in
I mean, you were
1980,
talking Cheyenne's cold, but isn't Germany? I mean, I was cold in Germany.
Germany can get cold, and but it doesn't have the wind. The wind in Cheyenne
Oh
is
gosh.
always blowing, and it's just downright cold there. And Germany can get cold, but it doesn't get to 0 degrees
Doesn't
much.
have the chill factor, yeah, with the wind going through.
Right.
Yeah.
But back in November 1989, the world saw, and I saw almost firsthand, the Berlin Wall came down. And with that coming down, the United States said, well, we don't need to have all these bases over there. So 1991, I was working the cargo side of my job, which basically means I'm moving all the freight. And we were shutting down radar sites and our air station in August of 1991. We left to come back to what we realized in when we left Germany was going to be in North Dakota. And there's a story behind that in a second here. But yeah, I was one of the last people to go because you need people to move the
I was going to
freight.
say that was so busy for you. Oh
Yeah,
my
it was.
goodness.
Well, the other problem at the time was, if you remember, we had the first Gulf War. So, in late 1990 into 1991, we had the Gulf War. So a lot of my coworkers were sent to southern Germany to backfill those that were going down to assist with the Gulf War. So we were left shorthanded. So with that, a lot of my German workers they decided, well, we got to find another job. So they tried to stay on as long as they could, but they needed to find where they could get money because they knew after August they wouldn't get a paycheck from the United States government or through the United States government in the German system. So they found other jobs, and towards the end, I was kind of by myself trying to build crates
Oh my God.
or guns.
Wow, you were really hands-on. Holy
Yeah,
Moses.
yeah, that
So
amazed
you had
me
to
because
move
I'm not that
yourself.
handy, really. Yeah, I had
You
to
had to move
figure it out,
yourself
and
back.
yeah, what the funniest or the fanciest thing I had to make was, how they had those medical sliding lights that, it was a big light that might have been 3 feet wide, and
Mhm.
it would slide on a rail going back and forth. I had to build a crate for that. It was 14 feet long, and
Wow.
with the middle being a 3 foot disc, and somehow I got it built. I mean, I had some help, but still, we had to use ingenuity, and with that, just get everything out of there. So yeah, so we came to the States, spent some time with my parents a month, and while I was in the States, they contacted me from our major personnel center in Texas saying, we've been looking for you. Now, when you close a base, there's no phones left. It's hard to contact people, you know, uh,
We didn't have cell phones back then.
yeah, right. There was no cell phone. So they contacted me through my parents because that was on my emergency contact list. And they said, how would you like to go to Colorado Springs? And I looked at my wife and I said, what do you want to do? You want to go to North Dakota? Or do you want to go to Colorado Springs? Now, I've never been to North Dakota, still haven't been to North Dakota. Uh, she left it up to me, but I said, we're going to Colorado Springs. And the personnel center told me, if you go to North Dakota, nothing will be questioned. You can go up there if you want to. I knew better. I mean, I was in Wyoming, and from Wyoming to Denver or Colorado Springs is like 160 miles, and it's a nicer area than Cheyenne. And we got to Colorado Springs in 1991, and I've been here since then. And I worked
Oh,
back to shipping people's household goods, and I did that for 3 years. And based on my rank I had at the time, I was a senior enlisted. They said, well, there's too many in your job category that are senior enlisted. We're looking for people to retrain into something else. So I was offered first sergeant, which is basically the commander's right-hand person that looks out for the enlisted, or communications, computer operations. So I took computer operations, and I went to Mississippi for 14 weeks to learn how to work computers. And they knew before I graduated that I was going to be coming back to Colorado Springs. So with that, we decided after my school, my wife and I, that we were going to build a house, or buy a house in Colorado Springs. So we bought a house and we stayed there till I retired in 1997. However, when I worked in Cheyenne Mountain. So if you remember the movie War Games, they showed some pictures of Cheyenne Mountain. And I had to work inside of there for 3 years. And it was interesting, very interesting. And my line of work was computer operations supporting the space defense area. And we just did the computer work. There was actually flight officers that did actual monitoring. We just made sure they had the computers and the jobs running that they need to monitor like the space junk up there. And yeah, we did that for 3 years. But I was in charge, so I didn't learn a lot. But I had a boss then that kind of told me towards the end, you're going to have to learn this stuff. and you're going to have to learn it inside out. So I worked a few weeks mid shift with some of the guys, and they trained me pretty well. And that kind of lined me up for when I retired from the Air Force. And I got hired by a defense contractor doing the same thing, except as a civilian. And,
That worked out really well.
yeah, yeah.
And so I'm curious. So you were in Colorado Springs. So after Mississippi, when you did the training, the 14-week training for computer operations, you were back in Colorado Springs, but you were also working out of Cheyenne as well. So you would go back and forth.
No. Cheyenne Mountain is the cave up here in Colorado Springs. It's NORAD, North.
I got confused. Okay, no, I'd never heard of it. So
Aerospace and Defense.
oh, my dad would be so disappointed I didn't know.
So basically,
that's pretty cool.
It's a cave on the side of the mountain. You could almost see it from my house here, and that's where they had air defense, space defense, missile defense, all that. Wow. A lot of that's moved out, but it's still there. And it was an interesting job. But the buildings, there was like 14 buildings stacked side by side or on top of each other, and it was a third of a mile walk from when you get into the tunnel to the blast doors, and but it's a self-sufficient area too. They have internal water systems. I'm not telling you anything that's not known. That's all known.
Yeah. And so you went and you worked, for a defense contractor for how long?
24 years.
Oh my goodness. So you literally just retired.
Actually, I double dipped. My last month I was on vacation, terminal vacation, what they call, from the military. And I got hired. I don't mind saying I got hired by Lockheed Martin. And I was getting a paycheck from Lockheed Martin and a paycheck from Uncle Sam. So a double dip.
Works well.
Yeah.
For how long were you
out of the Air Force? I was getting a retirement check from Uncle Sam. So
you definitely earned it.
Yeah, I want to say I did. Yeah.
But you were all over the place.
In hindsight, I talked to a lot of veterans, and with that, these veterans, they've been through hell, basically. They've gone through war zones. I never had to do that. The only fighting I saw was in bars. It's so I feel for a lot of these people that had to get deployed constantly, or are still getting deployed constantly.
So, yeah, my dad did 2 tours in Vietnam.
Wow. Yeah, so
Crazy.
I missed all that. Had I stayed in the Air Force, and I could have stayed in the Air Force, they were going to send me for 6 months to Saudi Arabia. And that was a determining factor also. Should I stay in, or should I just get out? And I decided to get out. So I never went to Saudi Arabia.
But you finished off in a really good place, beautiful Colorado Springs. I love Denver. I love the mountains out there. Oh my gosh, it's absolutely just God's country. It's amazing. So fast forward, I mean, you're still young, and you ended up with PAD, which that's how you and I got connected.
Exactly.
And you said it was 2019 that you discovered PAD.
I started getting pain when I was walking. I was still working for Lockheed Martin, and we'd go on walks, and after about 7-8 minutes, I would get cramp in my right calf. And I kept thinking, this is a Charlie horse, and it just wouldn't go away. And yeah.
Were you worried that, I know they consider, PAD in its advanced stages a cancer of the legs, but We don't do that to diminish the scariness and severity of cancer itself. It's different, but just to make people take it seriously, that is how we refer to it. But were you concerned at all that it was actual cancer again that you relapsed?
No, no, actually, that's a good question, but I didn't think about that. It was the whole time was like a Charlie horse until I just said, "This is going on too long. There's something else
So is it
going on."
different? You had different symptoms.
Right. When I had the cancer, all I saw was a lump. It didn't hurt. It, I delayed going to see the doctor, and some people I knew that they said, "You need to go to a doctor." I was I just never wanted to go to the doctor, but finally I went, and yeah, they ran all kinds of tests. They did ultrasounds. I said I left Germany medical air back to Texas. Another reason for that was CAT scan. They told me in Germany that CAT scans were so new that they couldn't trust the German doctors to know how to use it, so they were going to send me back to the States. This was
Oh,
1980, so CAT scan was fairly new, and that had all kinds of tests. But yeah, I eventually got a CAT scan in Texas.
yeah.
Um, and to fast forward, I the cramps they weren't continuous. They just would not go away when I was walking. So I finally went to the family doctor, who was actually a MD. Normally, you see a physician's assistant, and he checked my foot for pulse, and he said, "I barely feel a pulse."
Hmm.
And I don't know how he phrased it. I don't remember, but something to the effect of, "We're going to send you to refer you to a cardiologist. There's possibly artery disease, in a nutshell." So he knew right away what to check for. I didn't even have to ask. I never heard of it. And I went to the local hospital here, and they ran tests. I had ultrasound, ABI. They also did toe, and they said that, yeah, you got poor blood flow. And the first thing they did was angiogram in 2020, right before COVID hit. They did.
Hmm.
They ballooned my thigh, and yeah, they. I thought, okay, I'm cured. I could walk again, no pain, nothing like that. And it went through the foot, so they knew to go through the foot. Of course, they shaved my groin, but with all my procedures, I didn't have many procedures. They always shaved my groin, but they never went through the groin. They always went through the foot, which I'm happy about.
It was
Uh,
probably in your case, for people with radiation damage to the arteries, it was the best option. And I'm glad that's an advanced method. A lot of
well, they
doctors won't
weren't
even touch
sure
those
about that
arteries.
radiation stuff, but I kept telling him, the local cardiologist here, could this have come from my cancer and radiation? And the more they thought about it, the more they said, you know, that's that's a big possibility. And I, after a while, I think it was like a year and a half, I had reocclusion, and yeah, it was hard to walk again. And I was pushing. That's before I ever heard about you need to push, but I was still pushing, but it was painful. I just didn't know how to push. I just pushed, and then it was okay. You're hurting yourself. But I went to see a different cardiologist here in Colorado Springs, and he said, "Okay, we're going to put stent in there, and we're also going to clean out the artery, atherectomy." And they ballooned it also. And he said the the popliteal artery, looks a little
Behind the knee.
occluded. So they cleaned that out too. And I thought, okay, I'm good. I'm healed. It was a long stent. It goes halfway up my thigh, or stents, I should say.
Oh, I know.
So
Did they
yeah,
jail your profunda or did they leave the profunda clear?
they
Do you know?
left it alone. Yeah, the
Okay.
profunda was okay. Um, and not 10 months later, I had reocclusion.
Oh
And
my
that's when I
goodness.
contacted you, because they said, we've gone far enough. We're going to probably have to send you to a vascular surgeon, and they might be doing a bypass. And I already started listening to your shows, started following your forums, and you know, that's when I said, I need a second opinion. And that's when I contacted you, and you said, well, there's a doctor. I'm thinking he's out there, or he's going to be out there soon. Let me get in touch with him. And I say out here, that would be Denver area. And yeah, he wasn't out here yet, but he contacted his coworker, or soon to be coworker, that he trained. And that doctor called me actually a couple days later. We had a long chat, and he says, I want to see you. And he scheduled a CAT scan of my legs. He did another ultrasound. And with that, he says, we're going to go back in, but we're going to clean you out and see what we can do. And the day of my procedure, my current doctor, Dr. Aaron, he was there to help the doctor that called me. So it was two doctors that were working on me. I felt really pretty good
Special.
about two doctors working on me. And they said my stent collapsed, my old stent, that they were going to put a stronger stent in there. And they cleaned me out. They they also did IVUS to double check everything, because yeah, the CAT scan does wonders and tells you where everything is, but and the ultrasound that they do while they're going in there, but that IVUS really told them, well, other parts of your leg are not as bad as what we're seeing on the ultrasound. So they
I
did
love that you are talking about IVUS. So for those who don't know, it's intravascular ultrasound, and it uses audio waves to create a 3D image of the inside of your vessel, and it gives them a really accurate picture of the size of the vessel and the type of plaque that is in there. It gives them so much more information to help them more effectively treat the arteries.
right, exactly. So we spent 2 nights there in Denver. It was February 2023, and you know, snow occurs when it wants to here. So day of my procedure, I got introduced to Dr. Aaron and Dr. Khan, and they both have at it, and had no pain after that.
Oh, and now we're 2025, so you're actually a little bit further than you were before when it
Right. I
comes
mean,
to
I have
the arteries.
reocclusion. So my cardiologist, current cardiologist, he had an ultrasound run. He says he believes it's above the stent. So, but I just keep walking. I get slight calf pain. I don't get anything severe. And, you know, I have a little bit of neuropathy on my foot. That's probably over the months and years due to lack of blood flow. But the stent is holding up. The atherectomy they did in the popliteal artery seems to be holding up. But the one side thing about the vein, or the radiation treatment I got, it also destroyed my veins. So,
Oh,
you know, I have to see my cardiologist about vein treatments also. So, is it bad? Is it hurting? No. Is it unsightly? Yes. You know, but he was worried, and I agree that it could burst, you know, because one was right on top of my kneecap.
Yeah, if there's
bulging.
swelling too, that could be
Right, right.
trouble. It's interesting. My dad ended up having this swelling, and he had chronic venous insufficiency. And they did, go in with, I call it it's like a thermoseal, I think it's called. But they sealed off all the problem veins. It didn't really do that much for him, but it's weird because he ended up taking this. Another vascular surgeon told him about Venixa or Vasculera, which is just an over-the-counter treatment. And he's never had a problem since. All the swelling went away. And in fact, when he had his hip surgery, the doctor saw him for his follow-up and said, "This is not normal. Why don't you have the swelling in your leg that I
Right.
normally see?" And my dad told him he was on that and wondered if it could make a difference. And he asked my dad to send him the information, and he messaged back. He's like, "Oh, I think that's what did it. I'm going to have to tell all my patients," which I thought was really funny. So, might be worth talking to your doctor about something like that to see if it might help.
What's it called again?
It's either Vasculera or Venixa.
Yeah, because I had Varithena. I had the radio frequency stuff done,
Yep.
and that helped a little bit, more in the knee area. And actually, it's a little better with the bulging, but it's not great. I mean, I also have it behind my knee and underneath my knee area too.
Yeah.
It's just something I have to live with. And I asked my cardiologist, is it okay? And he says, it seems to be. Are you in pain? I said, no. He said, it's a nuisance. It looks not so nice.
It's behind your knee?
Also, yeah, I got on top of my knee and behind my knee. I got,
Oh,
well, I had radiation on both sides of my leg. So,
yeah. So you could have some weird collection there.
right. And the
But it's
Varithena
not a
kit that was
Baker's
in,
cyst,
yeah,
right? It's not a Baker's cyst or osteoarthritis because those would hurt.
yeah, definitely. Definitely. Yeah,
Oh, that's
it's
interesting.
just something that I probably will have to live with. They could probably go in there and do some major stuff, but I don't want that.
Mhm.
I don't need that. If it's not hurting, why bother? And I get checked,
Yeah.
so make sure everything's okay. And the only other nuisance I have is the neuropathy in my right foot. So a lot of people have PAD in both their legs, feet, wherever. I just have it in the one leg. And
Yeah, you just have a radiation induced presentation of
right,
peripheral artery disease, is what it seems that the doctor had mentioned.
right.
Because I think
And
your current doctor,
Doctor cardiologist, my cardiologist right now, Dr. Aaron, when they did my procedure back in 2023, I told him, if you believe this is radiation induced, please document it as such. And when they looked in there, they said, yeah, this is the way I guess you can say atherosclerosis, the plaque, but it looked different.
yeah.
And it was it was more fibrous, basically. It wasn't fibroid, but it was more fibrous.
So what's
And they
really
documented it
incredible,
as such.
and because you fought for that and you made a big deal about that, it was something you were, I mean, you're so diligent. You come to all of our opportunities to ask doctors and clinicians questions, and that was something that you were asking every single doctor you wanted to hear. And you know what? If even if you knew the answer to it, you wanted to raise awareness with these other doctors so they can help other patients. And it might, just your question asking about it might have turned on a light bulb for so many people. But it really turned on a light bulb for us because when we had another person who came to us just recently, as
Mm.
you know, who said, I had cancer, I had radiation, I suddenly ended up with PAD in one leg. Do you think it's related? I'm thinking, well, I'm not a doctor, but let me introduce you to someone who has a similar situation and you two can discuss. And in fact, the doctor that I'm going to send you to for a second opinion is his doctor as well. And so he's already been through this and knows how to treat this particular presentation of disease effectively.
Right.
And what was great is you got involved and helped to educate the patient and to relate to the patient and make them feel very comfortable and just loved and cared for, and that someone else understands.
Yeah. I felt good about helping her, and because she was a little scared and nervous, and she was
Ah,
very thankful. Or I could tell she was thankful, and when her procedure was done, she was very happy after her procedure.
yep,
Um, the one thing when I got out of the military, they didn't give me disability for my cancer because they said I was healed. But fighting with the VA, Veterans Administration, after 2019, I was actually pushed. You need to file with the VA about your leg. And I
yep,
finally did. And they didn't completely understand that either. I said, it's not cancer. This is a sidebar from the radiation.
yeah.
And the more they did some investigating, first they turned me down, and then I got to a higher approving authority, and we had a long conversation. And the more she checked into it, she said, "Yeah, you're right. You should be getting disability for that."
Good
So
for you.
I'm getting disability now for PAD, even though it's radiation induced. And
Well, when did you do that? Because I mean, I would imagine that a lot of the ammo that you got and the education you got was through the seminars that we held, where you took the opportunity, took the liberty to ask all kinds of doctors, a variety of doctors. I even think you asked that question more than a couple dozen times to a couple dozen world-renowned doctors across the globe. I was
yeah,
impressed. I love it. I am like, here, I know what question he's going to ask, but it was interesting to hear some of the different answers, and even just the aha moments that these doctors were having when you would ask the question, like, oh, I hadn't really thought about that. That is definitely possible.
yeah,
But you were able to take that information and apply it, and you were able to get the disability you deserve.
exactly, exactly. So
Good for
here
you.
I am. I'm 65. Uh, my cardiologist I see regularly. And I saw him a few weeks ago, and I said, okay, I'm 65. Let's check my ticker. So I got a referral, and I'm getting a CAT scan later this week for my heart, just to make sure everything's okay. I had one of those
256
calcium.
slice CT scan.
Pardon me?
256 slice CT scan, 3D
He
modeling.
said it's fairly new. So whatever it
Yep.
is, I'll find out on Thursday. I
Oh,
had a
get that on
calcium
CD. That's
score.
fun
I had my carotids checked, and
for you.
I said, "Is there anything else?" Because my dad had heart problems that led to him passing away years ago. I mean, he lived to be in his middle 80s, but still, he had eventual heart problems that I want to make sure I'm okay. And so
Yeah.
Dr. Aaron has me going there, and then I see him in December, and we'll discuss it. And of course,
Yeah,
in the meantime, if I
ask him about your abdominal aorta, just because that's really close to the spot for your where the radiation was. Yeah, it's more in your abdomen, but you have the iliacs that go and attach to the abdomen. You were mentioning that you already have a little bit of a blockage, possibly, or narrowing above where the stent was placed in your iliac. So it's just
it's
worth
not
double
iliac, it's in
checking.
my thigh.
Oh, it's all the way down in your thigh. Oh,
Right.
interesting.
So halfway up my thigh is where the stent ends, and
Did they put a covered stent? I would imagine a Viabon.
uh, what is it, Supera?
Oh, a Supera. Okay.
Yeah, they said it was new and sturdy. So who am I to argue? I mean,
Yeah, I
they
mean, if you're walking and it's working.
yeah. So I walk
Well, any lesson.
3 4 miles every day. I mean, I get a lot more steps than just roaming around the house or going to the store. But, at one stretch, I walk 3 miles, 4 miles, and, that, it's my daily routine. I'm kind of obsessive about it. If I miss a day, it's like, oh no, I just go nuts not walking.
I love it. I love, and you inspire so many other people in the group to walk too. It's always supportive when you know what it's like to walk through that pain and know kind of the mental toughness that you need in order to, fight your way through, but you have your legs because of it. And so, Heinz, I appreciate you so much for being here. Thank you so much for serving our country. Thank you so much for being such an inspiration for so many people and helping us, joining us in the fight to save limbs and lives across the globe.
You're welcome. And thank you for all you do. We appreciate it too.